weeks now, but we're back. Millan is, I don't know if he's going to break it or not, but he's got some news he might want to share with us. We also are going to talk about MLB baseball. A lot's happened since we last talked. We have the playoffs in hockey, which, again, obviously a lot has happened since we last talked, all the conference finals. And now we got a potential game-winning cup game on tonight. And then the NBA finals and the NBA playoffs. A lot has sadly happened in the NBA playoffs, and we now have a potential game-winning game on Monday. I keep thinking today's Sunday. Sorry, the NHL game is tomorrow night. But again, so we got a lot to talk about today. And Milan, you want to start off with that?
Yeah, we'll probably start off in the MLB just because I haven't really looked at the NBA since the Penguins have been out. I haven't really been following the NHL that extensively, and obviously I don't. Pittsburgh doesn't have a basketball team. I won't be following the NBA. Just I'll give you the quick news that Nick you talked about. I will be moving down to Houston. My family's gonna be relocating down there, so I will pick up an NBA team finally. I don't know if I want to be a Rockets fan because they always get slapped around by the Warriors. But yeah, and then I could be a Astros fan, but I'm definitely not gonna be a Texans fan. That's just hell in a handbasket right there. But we'll start off in the MLB. Nick, we have a lot of stuff that's happened in those 5 weeks. Seattle was in first place last time we made a video. Now they're in last. Pittsburgh was in first place. Now they're in third. Uh, Tampa Bay's now moved down to second, only a half game behind the Yankees. That's a pretty tough division. Boston is still looking shy. They need to get their reps up. Minnesota, surprisingly, has now taken a 10.5 game lead in the Central over behind with the Cleveland trailing Minnesota. Houston obviously is up on top. Philadelphia again always on top. Chicago and Milwaukee in a dogfight in the Central, and then lost. The Dodgers, not surprisingly, are up 9 games on the Rockies, who are in second place.
And also, we've had two big free agent signings with Craig Kimbrell, and this has just happened in the last week. But Craig Kimbrell going to the Cubs, Dallas Keuchel going to the Braves. And if you're in the National League right now, like the National League looks very scary for me as a Phillies fan because the Braves are in my division, and they're only 2 games back, and they just acquired Dallas Keuchel, which they badly needed because they had no pitching. They literally just had Soroka, and they had no bullpen. They had no staff. The ownership and the administration in Atlanta was being cheap about it, and now they've found a way to acquire Keuchel, which makes this team a bit scarier because it's just going to be us and the Braves. The Nationals are trying to get back on track, but they're still 7 games under 500, still 9 games out of first place. And the Mets are 4 games under 500, and they're on the downhill. So it's just us and the Braves, honestly. And next weekend, Father's Day weekend, it's us and the Braves in Atlanta for the first time since opening day. We haven't played them since opening day. It's been like 2.5 months since we've played them. So this is a big series for us this upcoming weekend. We have the Reds this weekend, who are not that great at 28-34. The Pirates aren't looking bad because, for the Pirates, 30-32 is just, your average season. And the West, the Dodgers should have run away with the National League. I watched the Dodgers last weekend. They were taking on the Phillies. It was a weekend set. And I always love to stay up for some late night baseball. And it was us and the Dodgers, and they're just so dominant. It's insane. I mean, that division should nobody in besides maybe the Cubs, not even us. We've proven we're not scary enough for the Dodgers, and if we're not scary enough for the Dodgers, I don't think the Cubs are scary enough for the Dodgers. So the Dodgers for the third straight year should run away with the National League. It's really the American League where I'm interested at because the Yankees are only half a game ahead of the Rays, but they have no one in their lineup. If they had a full lineup, they're probably 10 games ahead of the Rays right now, which is scary because they only have 23 losses. They're 39-23, and they have no one. They're playing with a AAA team. Then you have the Twins, which is a really nice surprise. They're packing the ballpark again, which you always love to see. And the Indians, they're struggling. But, to be fair, the Indians had so many chances to win the American League. After the World Series in 2016, they had 2 more chances. And that Astros team 2 years ago, they probably could have beaten. I don't know about last year's Red Sox team. Last year's Red Sox team was one of the best teams of all time. But they definitely could have went to back-to-back World Series and won at least one of them. So, yeah, I mean, they coughed up the opportunity to win a World Series for the first time in 75 years, and now they're probably going to have to go possibly through another rebuild. I've heard the Phillies be in the mix for Trevor Bauer, which is, I believe, their 2-pitcher, maybe their 3-pitcher, but he's really a guy I'd like to pick up. The Phillies need someone they can put in the starting rotation or the bullpen if the Phillies are going to be able to compete in the National League. Because the National League is pretty weak besides us, the Braves, the Cubs, the Brewers, and the Dodgers. I'm not really scared of anybody else. There's only like, I guess, 4 teams I'm scared of. But baseball looking really exciting right now.
Yeah, I'll give you my intake now on the whole MLB. Like, we'll start with the American League. In the beginning of the year, Nick, we both said the American League would be the divisions that we would be able to pick that would easily go to the finals and the championship. Like we obviously said the Red Sox and the Yankees would probably be first, second place. Then we'd have Twins and not the Twins, the Indians, and then Houston. Houston obviously has been strong. They've always been strong. They do have a couple injuries now with Springer and a couple of guys down with injuries, and they've still proven to be well. So once they get Springer and a couple of those guys back, they'll be fine. The Indians, like you said, they have been struggling lately. It's their pitching. They've been missing spots. I've been watching a couple of their games. All their starting pitchers have been missing spots. Not being able to go late into the games, which really hurts your bullpen, especially if you go long innings, especially if you go to extra innings. And then, yeah, like you said, the Yankees, AAA team. If I was Boston, I'd be scared right now because this is a good team, and it's only AAA. So imagine when they get their full guys back. Once they get Severino back, once they get Judge back, Stanton, he's not as healthy. But once they get all those guys back, they're going to be a powerhouse. They're going to be a team that could go far potentially in the playoffs. The only thing I'm worried about, though, is their pitching. It's proven to be fine right now, but I think the offense right now has been covering up their pitching as of late. Severino, he'll get back. He'll be back, and he'll be fine. But coming off of an elbow injury, especially taking 60 days off, is always going to be tough. Especially, he won't make an immediate action. He won't be immediately effective in his first couple of starts. I'm going to obviously expect him to be a little bit rusty and shaky. And then you have Sabathia, who's been looking fine. Tanaka's been looking fine. But it's going to be, again, their pitching. They need to get deep into the ball games. And because their bullpen hasn't been great as of late. They've given up a couple of leads. They've still managed to win games, but obviously it's been off of that high-powering offense. And then, again, the Red Sox, it's just been offense. They've been slow. They haven't been able to put guys in scoring position, and when they do, they can't capitalize off of it, especially off of mistakes by the opponent. Chris Sale has gotten better, obviously. He started the month with last couple of months with like an 11 ERA. Luckily, it's been going down. So he's been looking better, which is a good sign. But the rest of the pitching with Price and Porcello and Velasquez has not been looking great. And then you got rid of your closer, and that's already with a weak bullpen, you making it even weaker. So it'll be very interesting to see what the Red Sox will do down the road come All-Star break. And then in the National League, yeah. So go ahead,
Millan. You must be like kind of annoyed as a Pirates fan because the Rays at the moment are playing so well because of additions from the Chris Archer trade. They don't have Glasnow at the moment, but when they did have Glasnow for the first month of the season, he was throwing insanely well.
Yeah.
And the hitter Bowers, is it Bowers?
Yep. And Meadows.
Yeah.
And Meadows.
Meadows. That's what I was thinking of. Meadows has just been doing amazing. I mean, this team is really doing well because of that trade. So that must hurt as a Pirates fan, knowing that those two guys could have been leading the Pirates this same season.
Yeah, we knew what we were giving up with the Pirates. Obviously, Meadows was doing all right. He wasn't doing as well as he is now in Tampa Bay. But it's always hurt to see that those guys are doing well. But it's good to see that they're doing well. But yeah, Archer was I'm gonna hold by what I said during the trade. I still like the Archer trade. I fully supported it. I still like it now. I still like Archer where he's at right now. And you can see where some players just need as hard as it may be to see them go. This might need a what's it called? It might need a scenery change. Yeah, change of scenery to help them. And obviously, that helped with McCutchen. He did a lot better in the Giants than he did with the Pirates. Arguably, you could say Harper's doing a lot better now with the Phillies than he has been with the Nationals. But going on to the NL, obviously the Phillies. It hurt a couple nights ago. McCutchen's now out for the season with a torn ACL, which is going to hurt your outfield. But yeah, I'm not going to be worried.
The Phillies right away helped and made a big addition with Jay Bruce. 4 home runs, 4 games for Jay Bruce. And that was more for the loss of Odubel Herrera, which I was so happy. I mean, I wasn't happy, but I mean, I was happy when I heard Odubel Herrera was possibly ending his career and he would never have to wear the Phillies pinstripes again. I was so happy. Odubel Herrera has got to be my least favorite player. He's just not a good ball player. I don't know what they see in him, honestly. He doesn't have any fundamentals. I mean, he's just not. I don't know how he made it this far, honestly. I mean, his batting average is never that high. He's not a really good fielder. So, I'm kind of happy. And then we had Cutchin center field for literally like a series, and then he goes down. So now we got Jay Bruce, and we called up this guy, Adam Hansley, who was the, I believe, number 1 overall pick back during the rebuild, maybe 2015, 2016. And he started the year in high A ball, went through the minor leagues really quick this year. Now he's playing. He won us the game on Wednesday with an RBI. So yeah, we'll see what happens. They're looking decent right now. Took 2 out of 3 from the Padres. Took 1 last night versus the Reds. So
I was looking at the Pirates schedule. I'm officially pissed off right now. As you know, like I said earlier in the podcast, I am moving down to Houston, and so I'm going down to Houston on Thursday to look at houses, Nick. And the day I leave Houston, the Pirates are going down to Houston to play a 3-game set there, and that doesn't happen often. That will probably never happen. I'll be in like an 8-year, like 3 days.
It would be every 3 years.
Yeah, but then you'll switch like places you play. So probably next time we'll play every 3 years. We'll be in Pittsburgh. Which is really rough to see because the Pirates, that's going to be rough to see because that will probably never happen. Luckily with the Steelers, that'll happen. But yeah, so like I'm saying, I think June and July for the Pirates is going to be the test to see if they are playoff ready. The majority of the month of June is the Pirates playing the leading division leading Brewers right now. They've lost almost all their games against the Brewers. They lost yesterday. And then they've lost a series before that. They played the Braves, able to take 2 out of 3. Always like to see that. And then you have, again, easy teams like the Marlins. You get easy teams like that. You get the Tigers again. Padres will be a team that will test Pittsburgh. And then you have the Astros again, a really good team. I think spring was supposed to be back by the 3rd game of the Astros series. And then they'll finish off the year with the Brewers again in Milwaukee. And then going into July, you have another NL Central race with the Cubs. You're playing a 3-game set there. Then you're gonna play Milwaukee again. Then you're home to the Cubs, and then it's the Cardinals, and then it's the Phillies, and then it's the Cardinals again. So and then you get the Mets, and then you get the Reds. So all this whole month, these next 2 months, ending of this month and the whole next month is all NL Central majority teams that if you can play well against them and take the majority out of these games, all right, maybe you have a chance of making the playoffs. If you don't, I think it's early enough to say that you could pack your bags and expect an early offseason for the Pirates again this year. And we've been fine, honestly. It's our hitting that's been pretty well. Last year, the reason why we didn't do so well is we haven't put in guys on scoring. We got guys in the scoring positions, guys second and third, guys at third, 1 out, no outs, and we just haven't been able to put those guys home. Obviously, Josh Bell had a monster May, earning the NL Player of the Month. And we've been looking great on offense. It's just our rotations, our bullpen. Again, Chris Archer hasn't been fine. If you've been watching, it's because he's missing his spots. He and Elias Diaz and Francisco Cervelli don't really have the game plan going forward. He's only had 2 quality starts in the past, like 4 starts of the season, giving up a lot of runs. And he's been missing his slider, hanging his changeup, missing his fastball out and away. So these are things that when you see him, when he's on, and he's not going to give up a lot of runs. The problem again is our bullpen. We've been up maybe 4-1, 5-1, 6-2, and we've given up those runs with our bullpen. It's almost giving up, and it's hard to see too because this is a bullpen we're supposed to be ranked pretty high in the beginning of the year. We've had Cone Keller, we have Francisco Liriano, Jordan Lyles, and Felipe Vasquez, who's been very helpful for us in the past years, but now this year hasn't been very helpful. You see Felipe Vasquez coming in the save situation, giving up the lead or giving Ty the lead, especially with the Braves and the Brewers a couple weeks ago that happened, and that was just the story of that series. So if the Pirates are going to have to contend, it's going to be the pitching, obviously. And the Pirates are lucky because they have technically you can call it a 7-man rotation. You have Archie, you have JMO, you have Trevor Williams, and then you have 2 guys that could go out of the bullpen. You have Francisco Liriano and Jordan Lyles. Those guys can go out of the bullpen if need be, and they could also start a series and start a game if they need be. The guy who I don't like to see in this rotation is a guy named Nick Kingham. Nick, I don't know if you've heard of him.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw his very first debut game at home against the Cardinals. He threw a one-hitter, almost a perfect game, gave it up in like the 7th or 8th inning. And he did well against the Cardinals, and that was the time when the Cardinals were obviously arguably one of the best teams in the MLB behind Boston. They were doing very well. But now he hasn't done well at all. He's had not this year. He has a 9.87 ERA. He's only 1-1. Hasn't done well at all in this series. And it's tough to see because there's probably better pitchers we could trade for, or we can get rid of, instead of in the place of Nick Kingham. He has a 2.05 WHIP, 32 strikeouts. He's 9.87 ERA, 14 games, only 1-1. Career is only 6-8, 6.7 ERA. So this is a guy that is, I think, one of the guys that needs to. If we could trade for him, I would love to. He hasn't been looking well in Pittsburgh except that very first game. He hasn't had any quality starts. He's been giving up early runs. And it's tough when you get behind. The atmosphere in the bench always is subdued if you give up runs in the early innings. And this is a guy that is not a good player to start. It's definitely not a good player to be on this team. I think we should trade him and get someone better. I don't really care who. I don't think we will get a high quality guy, especially during the trade deadline. But after the Archer trade, but this is a guy that has to go. I don't even care if we just get cash or something for him, but he needs to go. Or put him in the bullpen. I don't really care. And then we also have, again, this is the Central Division that you could easily see one of the two. This is, Nick, why you said you were pretty scared. You could arguably say that definitely one of the two teams in the Central will be a wildcard team between Chicago, Milwaukee, St. Louis, and maybe Pittsburgh, depending how they do in the next couple of weeks. And then you'll obviously hold for the Atlanta and Philadelphia. Atlanta and Philadelphia will probably get another wildcard spot, which will be really hard for the West if Colorado and San Diego want to get a wildcard spot, which I don't think they will this year. They'll probably the two wildcards will probably be the division losers between the East and the Central, which will be very interesting to see how this playoff team will go, because it's not going to be a traditional playoff system now, because the Phillies have gotten a lot better. The Twins are looking a lot better. The Rays could be easily a team. The Texas Rangers are looking great right now. They're 32-29, only 10 games behind Houston, but that could easily change. 7-3 in the last game. I've been talking a lot, Nick, though. I'm going to move it back over to you, though.
Yeah, so, I mean, I was, when Millan first told me about his news of moving to Houston, I kind of joked with him. I was like, I might have to find my way down there. And then I was looking at the, I was thinking back, to past schedules, and I kind of remember that the Phillies will be playing the AL West next year. So I was, kind of hoping the Phillies might get a weekend set versus Houston, or something like that. That'd be amazing. But I really do hope that they get a weekend set versus the Rangers, because I want to see the Rangers' new stadium. They're getting a new stadium next year, so that would be amazing. But not really. I just kind of thought that was on my head. But so, yeah, I agree with Millan. I think that this is going to be an interesting and non-traditional year, because the standings, the way it's been done, the Rays are in it. The Rays are involved, which we haven't seen in the last 5 years. The Twins are in first place. Can't remember the last time we saw that. The Rangers are still involved. I wish the Angels were more involved, obviously, but they're not. In the National League, the Phillies and the Braves are back in it. It's always fun when the Phillies and the Braves are back in it. You got the Cubs and the Brewers. The Brewers are kind of, they lost in the NLCS last year, which I feel like a lot of people forget, but that could be a very scary team. And then you got the Padres. They're probably a year away still, but they could easily get back in this race, as could the Rockies, who've been in for the last few years, but really haven't got past the wild card round. So now I kind of want to switch over to the NHL.
Yeah, definitely.
So a lot has happened since we last talked, obviously. And so last time we were talking, second round was wrapping up because the second round went pretty fast. But now we've advanced a lot. Boston swept Carolina. It wasn't even close. Not a single game was fun. It had to be one of the most boring playoffs I may have ever seen, or one of the most boring playoff series. It wasn't a very interesting playoffs either. But this was just a boring playoff series here between Carolina and Boston. Boston won in 4 games. It was, if I can find the scores of these games, I'll just tell you how easy it was. 5-2, 6-2, 2-1, and they won in a 4-0 game on the road. The only game that was close was Game 3 in Carolina. They raped them in Boston twice, and they raped them to end the series. The other hand, St. Louis San Jose was a very interesting series. Game 1, San Jose kind of took it 6-3. It looks like you got that game, and it looks like, okay, Sharks could easily win this. Then Blues win a game 4-2. It's like, oh, well, now both teams are good. Then we got a 5-4 overtime game in game 3. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a fun series. Blues win 2-1, tied going back to San Jose. Blues win 5-0 in San Jose. I'm like, okay, Blues are going to win. They go back for game 6. Blues win 5-1. And the finals have been very fun. The game 3 kind of sucked. It was a 7-2 win for Boston, and I believe at one point it was 4-0. But the other 4 games have been very fun. Game 5, a lot of people are mad because there was a St. Louis trip that led to a goal. So a lot of people believe that St. Louis shouldn't have won. That game should have went to overtime. It does kind of suck that a game that meant so much, tied at 2-2, impacted so much. But hey, last time Boston was in this situation back in 2012, it was a 3-2 lead for Vancouver, and Boston won 2 straight games to win the Cup final. That could easily happen again, especially with Boston having home ice in Game 7, unlike the last time with Vancouver had home ice. So tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, Game 6, St. Louis could win it on their home ice, which would be huge.
Yeah, and this is, again, I've been following the NHL loosely, but still I've been following it. And this is a Stanley Cup playoffs that's been either it's been a blowout or it hasn't been with the following the first round, second round, and the conference finals. Especially with the Hurricanes. I know the Blues and the Sharks. I know I still said this. I don't know about you. I forget if you said this or not. I said the East was going to easily win the Stanley Cup. I didn't think the Sharks or the Blues would have any chances against a team like the Hurricanes or the Boston Bruins. I didn't even think the Bruins would go that far. I thought there'd be a second round exit and that was it. But they proved to me that they've been very good. They've been playing fast enough that they could outskate their opponents. They haven't spun out of control. They're good at responding. You know, obviously with the loss at home, they came back and showed that they could win on the road, and that win on the road is very big, especially for tomorrow night's game. It's going to be loud. It's going to be a sellout crowd. It's going to be wild because this is going to be hopefully a Blues Stanley Cup victory in a while. And if you can win and having that win on the road in Game 3, that I don't think Boston's going into this nervous. I don't think they're going to be nervous at all. I think they're going to be fine, chill out, and playing their game. And you see if you're watching at least the first 3 games, first 4 games, I didn't see Game 5. I saw the first 4. You can look at on paper who is the better team, and I'd go Boston on paper. But on the ice, you could easily say the Blues have been on paper. They've been playing physical. They've been playing hard to the point where they've been putting Boston's players injured. You know, they're making Boston's injured players, like with Char with a broken jaw. They led some. I think they led McAvoy into the boards head first. But they've just been playing rough. They've been playing to the point. They've been playing rough, but they've been playing legally dirty. You know, if you know what I mean. They haven't crossed the line yet. They've been, and that's what you need to do to win a Stanley Cup or to win any series against a very tough team. You know, Pittsburgh didn't do that. They were pushed around a lot. A lot of other teams, like the Islanders, they were pushed around by the Carolina Hurricanes. The same with the Hurricanes. They were pushed around by Boston. This is the Blues team that, hey, they were looking very, very shaky rounds 1, 2, and even the conference finals. And the conference finals are getting pushed around by the Sharks, and now they stepped it up completely. This is a different team, obviously, and they've been playing physical, and I love the physicality of this game. It gets the crowd into it. It gets anyone watching it into it, and it's going to be. I said this series would go 5 games in favor of Boston. Obviously, now I wouldn't be surprised if this game went 7, but I also wouldn't be surprised if St. Louis finished it up tomorrow night on NBC, which would be a great thing to see Boston go down because. I know me, like the rest of the world, doesn't want to see Boston win another championship.
Agree. This is really obviously the NHL, so I guess we can go to the NBA now, which I know Millan has not really watched, but I've been watching it. Well, I didn't really watch the conference finals because I was just so depressed. Because last time we were talking, the NBA was a bit behind. So they were in round 2, Sixers, I believe. Might have been like game 4 of the Sixers series. And what ended up happening, as you all know, game 7, Jimmy Butler goes down the court with 4.2 seconds. Beautiful layup by Jimmy Butler. Looks like we're heading to overtime, right? Okay, we're going to overtime. Everybody in my house is very excited. We're going to overtime. We might go to beat the Bucks. Because we all thought if we played the Bucks, we were going to the finals. We all thought we beat the Bucks in the conference finals. But okay. Okay, we go to overtime. Right? Okay, no, that's not what happens. So Kyle Lowry gets the ball. He passes down to Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's in the corner. Okay, and Kawhi Leonard takes what I call a JJ Redick shot in the corner. No balance at all. Just throws it up. I'm like, okay, it's not going in. That's okay. Thank you. Air ball. Hits off the rim. I'm like, okay. It can fall the other way. And then hits the other rim. I'm like, okay. And then it falls in the basket, and it counts a 3-point shot. And the Raptors win Game 7 of the second round, and they go on and play the Bucks, and they dismantle the Bucks. And now they're dismantling the Warriors, and they're a minus $700 favorite. That means if you have to pay $700 to win $100. It's insane. You can't bet for the Raptors in the next game. The Raptors are going to win the NBA Finals. But here's the thing. The Sixers could run it back next year. The Sixers are probably an NBA final contender next year. Nobody thought they were going to the finals this year, by the way. Nobody in Philly at the beginning of the year thought they were going to the finals. We thought they were a conference final team. Maybe they lose to the Warriors. And that's not what happened. They lost to the Raptors on some bullshit. The basketball gods must have hated the Sixers or something. Because we created a super team that wasn't really super because they had absolutely no chemistry. But yeah, I didn't really focus on the NBA after that. I've been watching the finals, and it just proves to me that the Raptors are really good. And I don't know where Kawhi is going to go. I think he should stay in Toronto, but there's a chance he goes to LA. I think Jimmy Butler's going to stay in Philly. Kyrie's probably going to go to Brooklyn. I don't know why anybody would go to Brooklyn on their free will, but Kyrie Irving has decided to do that. I guess here's the reason you go to Brooklyn. You don't want to go to the Knicks because they're such a terrible franchise. So you go to Brooklyn, and it's just like a minimal upgrade of the Knicks because they have D'Angelo Russell. Let me tell you this: if the Knicks had Porzingis still, Kyrie Irving's going to the Knicks next year. If the Knicks still have Porzingis, then they're getting KD or Kyrie Irving in free agency. But now they're definitely not getting Kyrie. If they get KD, I'd be shocked. KD might just go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn could end up being like this insane super team that then the Sixers are fucked with. Not the Raptors, but the Nets. Losing to the Nets just sounds bad. So, I haven't really covered it enough. I'm really excited for free agency, though, I guess. But, I'm not a big basketball guy, so I haven't followed it that much.
Yeah, I've been looking. I've been following a little bit of the finals. I thought that during the NBA playoffs, the only series I watched intently was the Rockets and the Warriors. I thought that'd be a good series because, again, I'm going down to Houston, and those I thought were the two best teams in the West. Obviously not. I thought it was a 4-2 series win by Golden State, and it wasn't even close by the looks of the games. And then I don't know too much about basketball, so I don't know how Toronto was. I never knew how good Toronto was, but they've been good. They've been able to hold off the very strong Warriors team, but you have to admit the Rockets, not the Rockets. Oh my God, the Raptors are looking good right now, and I don't think anyone can deny that. But again, the Warriors have a good amount of injuries, especially with KD out. Nick, I'm going to ask you this question because I'm not fit to answer this. With KD playing in this series, would this be a different series?
Yeah, most definitely. The Warriors would be winning this series. Probably they'd probably be tied right now. Probably 2-2. It would be 3-1 Warriors if they had him and Thompson in the lineup. That's a huge difference. The Warriors should be winning this series if they have Thompson and Durant. It's a 3-1 series in favor of the Warriors if they have both those guys. If they have just one of them, it's probably 2-2. To say they lost 2 games in Oracle, that's bad. Those could be the last 2 games ever in that arena because they're moving to San Fran next year. To lose the last 2 games in the history of your arena, possibly in the NBA Finals, that's rough. They better hope they go there. They better hope they go back home for Game 6 so they can win in that arena one last time. Because otherwise, that is not a pretty way to leave an arena.
Yeah, and you said they're moving to Atlanta. They said they're moving to San Francisco. And I knew that. And the reason why I'm so because I didn't know they were changing the arena. The problem is that they're playing just outside of San Francisco. I don't see the reason why they should change it. I mean, they do technically play in Oakland.
Yeah, they play in Oakland. So.
But okay, I can see where you're going.
It's like they're moving like 40 minutes away.
All right, yeah, it's because Oakland and San Francisco are a stone's throw away to each other. But yeah, this NBA team has been looking different. Klay Thompson was back yesterday. He played pretty well, I think. I watched the first half. He had at least 12, 14 points in the first half, looking well. But KD, if they're gonna get back into this series, they're gonna have to have KD play, and I don't know if they're gonna push him to play, because with the calf strain is always hard to play, especially going that long games. But you're gonna have to play 2 games in Toronto if you want us to win. And they've lost 1 game in Toronto. They were able to win game 2 in Toronto, but it's gonna be a loud scene. It's gonna be just like the Blues. It's gonna be loud. It's gonna be rough. What is your opinion on Drake trash talking with the players?
See, I'm fine with it because the Sixers have a similar guy that's on the court. He's a super fan. He's not famous, he's famous now, but he wasn't like famous before he was a Sixers super fan. I met him at a Phillies game once. But the point is, like, he's not like, I don't see a problem with it, like, because he hasn't gone overboard almost. You know what I mean? Like the players are somewhat okay with it because it's Drake. If it was just your average guy, I think the players would be a bit more mad about it. But honestly, baseball and basketball are like that. The fans are so close to you. And I guess even hockey. The only one that's not like is really football. But, the fans are so close to you that you're going to get some trash thrown in your face. That's just how it is. That's how it's been since since these arenas, since the new wave of arenas with on-court seating. So, that's just what you got to expect. We've seen people, we've seen fans flip off people. We've seen players called, the racial slurs.
We've seen office people push Kyle Lowry before. Seen that.
This is like this should be the least of the NBA's concern compared to other bigger, more important issues with even the fans, with even the on-court action.
Yeah, and I liked how Draymond Green addressed it in the media, how he said it's Drake. He's worked his ass off the way to be where he was. And it's Drake. So I'm fine with it. Again, they haven't gone over the line, and it's sports. You're supposed to enjoy. You're supposed to have fun. You're supposed to trash talk a little bit. But quickly before we end off this podcast, giving you guys sports updates that we missed when we were gone. Carson Wentz signed the contract. I don't know if you have things to say about that. Do you?
I think to me, this is bad for the Rams and the Cowboys. It's good for the Eagles though, because you already know if Carson Wentz is making 4 years, $154 million, then Jared Goff, and that's gonna be the base of the Jared Goff and Dak Prescott talks. They're gonna be asking for 4 years, 180. Plus signing bonuses. With all the bonuses Carson ends up getting, like with all the incentives and bonuses, he could end up getting like 4 years, $200 million. And that's what's gonna be Dak's and Jared's base, and that's bad for those teams because, in my opinion, Carson Wentz, granted he's never played a full season, is a much better quarterback than Jared Goff and Carson Wentz. The Rams did not go to the Super Bowl last year because of Jared Goff. They went because of good play calling, good defense. And Dak Prescott hasn't done anything to prove to me he's good. He was good his first year because he had an amazing offensive line and Ezekiel Elliott that was playing out of his mind. Since then, he hasn't done anything impressive.
Yeah, Lions signed Jermaine Kearse, which isn't really that much interesting. Namara Bowman retired. Let's see, what else? There's a lot of good stuff. Like you said, Phillies acquired Jay Bruce. And then we have Carlos Correa is still out. He's going to be out for at least 10 more days. He's supposed to come back in, I think, 5 days, but he's going to be out for at least 10 more days. Bill Buckner passed away. Mets signed Matt Kemp. Athletics, DFA, Fernando Rodney. Some coaches hirings. Julian Edelman with the contract extension. Yoenis Cespedes is going to be out for a little bit longer. A couple guys retire from the MLB. From the NBA and NFL. So it's going to be a very interesting new NFL season that I'm actually going to be quite interested in, especially in the Steelers, for the Steelers' sake of the NFL, because I think the first couple of weeks in the Steelers' schedule is going to test the Steelers to see. You don't have Le'Veon Bell, who showed up to optional practices. And then you don't have Antonio Brown. Two locker room divas that really, you could arguably say that they kept Pittsburgh from their potential goal in winning the season and going to the playoffs and farther. So I think this year could be better for the Steelers, with there's no locker room talk, no worries about anything. But your first 2 games at New England, home to Seattle. So these 2 games, Pittsburgh's always had trouble with Seattle, except in the Super Bowl. ever since then, Pittsburgh, I don't think, hasn't won a game against Seattle. And you play the Chargers this year. You play the Rams. You're gonna play tough teams. The Ravens are gonna be good. The Browns are gonna be decent this year. The Bengals are just gonna be a joke. So that's 2 free wins. You play the Jets, where the Steelers have lost the past 2 games against the Jets. So this is going to be a very interesting season to see what the Steelers. It's going to be a test to see is this a Steelers team now that we can everything's put to rest, that we got rid of the 2 best players arguably in the on the Steelers franchise. So now are we going to be able to go to the Super Bowl? Can we get a playoff spot? Because then Patriots are declining with Gronk retiring. You still have Brady, who could still do well, and I fully expect them to do well this season, getting another first-round bye. And then you have another guy like Patrick Mahomes, who's just on his uprising. He's starting his in his prime. So I think they're going to be the new Patriots. The Chiefs will be the new Patriots. But you also have Andy Reid. So this is going to be a very interesting AFC this year. NFC, I think it's going to be the same as it's always been. I think it's going to be an unpopular opinion, but I think the NFC East is going to be a division where none of the teams are good, but you just need a team to win. I think Philadelphia will win that division. I think Dallas, obviously, Washington, New York, and Dallas are just going to be absolute jokes. I think in the NFC North, I don't think the Vikings will be good this year. I think it'll be Chicago, Green Bay in the top there. South, I think New Orleans will do well again, and then Los Angeles Rams, arguably again, will do fine in that division. So I can see, I know it's way too early, but I can see the Chiefs doing well in the Super Bowl. I can see New Orleans, hopefully, they should have been in the Super Bowl last year. So it's going to be very interesting, at least for me, for the Steelers and the rest of the NFL.
I agree.
And that's probably going to wrap it up, since we just wanted to get you guys a video because we haven't in so long. I know I'm done with school. Nick, you're done with school, so we got the summer ahead of us, and we both got baseball games. But we could always make early videos. We're going to start making ranking videos. I had good ideas. I completely forget them now, of good ideas to rank, good things to rank. But we're going to try to get as many videos as we can done. When I go down to Houston next Thursday, we're going to get a video done there. We haven't tried out the ballpark experience videos. We were going to try that out. We haven't been able to do that. But we're going to have some new things, give us ideas you guys want to see, and we'll get you guys more content up, and we'll be more active on the Instagram and on YouTube here. We'll get you guys more videos and breaking news whenever that happens. So we'll see you guys, though, next time in our next video.